Welcome to Chalk and Code,
where the science of learning meets modern technology.
We're bringing together entrepreneurs, product leaders, researchers, and advocates
to spark ideas, challenge assumptions, and shape the future of learning.
Welcome to Chalk and Code. Today we are joined by Scott Buell, founder and CEO of Drone Legends, where he leads the development and implementation of innovative STEM education programs. Under Scott's leadership, Drone Legends has reached over 25,000 students across 48 states and 6 international locations, establishing the company as a leader in drone-based education technology. Welcome, Scott.
Hi, thank you so much, Jill. Pleasure to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, we're excited to have you. Before we talk about your company, can you paint a picture kind of the broader real-world impact of drones? Like, we've all seen the critical role of drones in the Russia-Ukraine war as just one example, but can you tell us why it's so important for today's learners to understand this technology?
It's a great question. In our programs, we tend to focus K to 12, and we've actually kept kind of the military uses of them out of our curriculum and tend to focus more on how can drones be used, what we call drones for good. And so that'll include things like space exploration. Let's look at the Ingenuity they called it the flying helicopter that was on Mars for a few years. It's still up there now on its side. But, that was groundbreaking. It defied kind of physics, and Mimi Yang and her team did a great job. So we think about like exploring different planets and the drones make total sense, right? Cameras on flying objects that can go out and look at the terrain and say, hey, to the rover, come on, a coast is clear or something like that. Or humans on Mars, we've got that. Great company. One of our favorites in terms of drones, it's just the go-to. I look at Zipline drones. 10 years ago, they started with an idea to use drone technology to get life-saving medical supplies and medicines to people in remote parts of the world that, wheeled vehicles might not necessarily have as great of access to get there. So their founder, and I apologize, his name's blanking right now, but says, because where you live should not determine if you live. Now, recently they've celebrated their millionth delivery, and now they've advanced their technology to where they'll be doing like doorstep drone delivery, kind of that last mile. So that's huge. I mean, you just point to that. Exploration in terms of science, looking at like orthomosaic mapping, ground penetrating radar. You can just turn on like National Geographic and just watch. It's all drones now doing like science exploration, wildlife conservation, precision agriculture is a huge market, and not just spraying. People like to think that spraying is that's where they put the two and two together. But when you think about bigger drones, they've got these really sophisticated cameras on them that can collect data. And those data are then used to determine crop health, yield. So it's very sophisticated. Let's not kid ourselves to think that these are a bunch of Midwest farmers still, huckleberries out. No, super advanced, super sophisticated, using drone technology to advance agriculture and crop yields and health. So, and I could go on and on and on. Architecture, mining, infrastructure inspections, roof inspections, cinematography. The opportunities are endless, quite frankly.
Yeah. We used to think about drones as kind of like this toy that you use once and maybe it like sits on a shelf collecting dust.
That was my first toy right there. Yeah, it's the first little drone I bought like in 2014 or 2015. Wow. It's a toy and it just sits up there now and hangs out.
There's so many applications and
for sure.
You just described.
Absolutely.
You talk about, there's a lot of conversation right now about getting kids, ready for careers. And you talk about kind of your vertically aligned K-12 aviation pathway.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the pathway and kind of what does that include? What kind of jobs are you helping to prepare kids for?
Well, all of the ones that we just talked about. I'm going to grab something. Pardon me. Should have had this. So the K-12 pathway we initiated our program right kind of in the middle school section, right? That's where I started 5 years ago or so. I really kind of hit into that STEM, autonomous drone flight, coding, the missions that we just talked about. We built our core program, STEM fundamentals, and those problem-based learning models are built into those missions. So they are fighting fires and going to Mount Erebus and doing that. So we really use these micro drones in that particular, like that 5th, 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade. That's where we started. And we're using missions to link drone technology to career opportunities. We were very successful there, and our community members, educators, started to ask us, what have you got for our little kids? And what have you got for our older kids? And quite frankly, STEM fundamentals has even been used in the high school level just because of the career connections. It's got kind of a younger vibe feel to it. And the academic standards, when you think about like next gen science and International Society of Technology and Education and Common Core, ELA and math, those standards tend to fall in that sixth grade, fifth grade level for that program. But I've seen high schoolers run it and teachers use it just because of the applications that are used in the missions. For the younger kids, Little Legends. Little Legends is story based. It's a non-screen program. The stories use Gimbal as our artificial intelligent drone. He's our little character that kind of follows through all of our programs. So you'll find Gimbal running concurrent. He's our guy, right? So Gimbal takes kids on these adventures. And in the Little Legends, they're story based, and the stories are loosely framed around drone technology. The students at that grade, kindergarten through second, really aren't flying these drones. It's too much. But the teacher is, and the kids are actually learning they can do some basic block programming and watch the drone do an autonomous flight mission as part of the stories that are integrated. The stories are very fun and lighthearted, but they do focus on things like we go to the farm, right? And Gimbal does a little scan of the farm and plum trees in the orchards and things like that. So we can even get the kids thinking about drones, because all the kids love drones. And what my mission was to use that kind of attraction to get kids interested in just learning. It doesn't hurt that there's such an opportunity in the drone space. And then at the high school level, we have a competitive drone racing program that's also got a league. We were just actually wrapping up today to start our first Unified Scholastic Drone Racing Association. Race starts today, where the kids are wearing goggles and controllers and they're in the drones. And that's when you think about military uses, FPV's kind of taken a big role in military. So while our program trains these students to fly in that style, we also have an esport component to it and a real life component to it that allows them to compete. So it's a lot of fun too. And then we've layered the FAA certification training program on the end of that, kind of to put a bow on it. And we don't actually administer the program. You go to a test center, but it's a prep test that's designed for classrooms.
So kids can actually walk away with an FAA certification.
16 years old. Yep, we can get you trained up and ready to go if you're interested to go take that course and get your license. Now, that's to be an operator, but what a lot of times what gets missed in all of this is, and this is for any industry, I think you think about it, is what are all the ancillary and tertiary support systems around that industry that also offer jobs? You don't have to fly a drone. Can you be an engineer on a drone team? Can you go work for Verizon's drone thing? Are you marketing for a company that does drones? I mean, so you don't have to just think about, I'm going to get my license and be a pilot. There's a million other things that you can think about that are connected to the drone service industry that may or may not be related to actually flying one.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the origin story of Drone Legends? Like, sort of, what was the moment when you realized you needed to leave your career and start this company?
All right. Sit back. Okay. Because here we go. This gets a little deep. So, look, I'm in my late 50s right now. In my early 50s, I kind of had a strange epiphany that I just wasn't doing what I wanted to do or what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And I'd spent my career in sales and largely in the pharmaceutical life sciences space, working at agencies that service those companies. So I didn't work for the pharma companies. They were my clients. Spent many years doing that, moderate success, lived a pretty good lifestyle. But as I started to get older, I realized that I wasn't really, I hate to use the word, but I wasn't fulfilled. A lot of other things led to it, but just one day I just woke up and was like, I'm done. And I pulled like an office space and was just like, here's your stuff, I'm out. And I started flying that little toy in like 2015. I was sitting right in this seat in this office and I looked out my windows here and I saw a kid over here. This is my home office. And he was flying his drone around the holidays. And it was a toy. And I was like, ooh, that looks like fun. I was like, that kid's having fun. And I want to do that. So I grabbed one up, right? $40 and started flying. It's cold winter. I got hooked. started flying little ones around the house, torturing the dogs, and just having a great time with it. And really got hooked. My obsessive compulsive personality just took hold. And I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. And the toys kind of got bigger. And then I woke up one day and it was 2019 and the drone services market had kind of started to explode. And so when I found myself kind of disenfranchised in my current position, I thought, wait a minute, always been in sales. I've always been in marketing. I could do that for myself. Why don't I start my own drone business? And so I went and got my FAA Part 107 certification. And I started a little drone business out here in South Jersey near Philadelphia. And I was doing real estate marketing and cinematography and working with an agency in Philly that did all this real estate marketing. And they utilized my services because I was a certified drone operator. And that started to happen. And in the course of that, I met some great people. And so to get to where Drone Legends start, but somewhere I still knew something was missing. I was having that midlife, what's my purpose? I think we all go through it. I know I did. I thought, God willing, I have another half in me. What am I going to do with it? When I'm 90, am I going to look back and go, I did everything that I was supposed to do, or am I going to have filled with regret? And I was really feeling that, really feeling that. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know who goes through it, but I did. And so my radar was wide open. I mean, I was looking. I was like, what am I going to do? What's the impact? What's the big thing that I'm going to do? And I was invited into a 5th grade science class in Camden, New Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia, to talk to kids about drones. I jumped at I was like, yeah, sign me up. So I grabbed, and I had been toying with oh, wait a minute, STEM and drones and coding. But I didn't come from an academic, I wasn't a teacher by trade, so I didn't know really what I was doing. So I gathered up my stuff and I walk into this classroom, not knowing what to expect. And I'm greeted by this group of 5th graders that are like, okay, guy, show us what you got. And it just kind of woof, like a muse came out of me. And it was like, hey, do you know what I do? And the kids are guessing because I was hiding the drones. And I was like, no, I'm a drone operator. And as soon as they saw it, I had my big one with me and all this, and they were lit up. And it just started to come out. Like, look at all the careers, just like I talked about when we first started. Look at all the cool things we can do. And they're like, people pay you to do that? I was like, yeah, it's cool. And again, little transparency. It's not a secret. I've said this a million times. I was a really rough kid growing up. I had a rough background. I was shipped away when I was 14 years old, got kicked out of Fairfax County Public Schools, sent off to this place in Maine called Hyde School. Hyde School was a character development school. It kind of changed me. If I hadn't gone to Hyde, don't know that I'd be sitting here talking with you today. I was really, really rough. And I looked in the back of that classroom, and some of those kids reminded me of me. And they were roughly the same age when I was having all my troubles. And so I saw what happened. I watched their eyes light up, and I watched them come to me, and I had them. I had their undivided attention. And I went, oh, this is something really special. And when I left that day, the teachers pulled me aside and they said, look, I don't know what you're actually doing right now, but what you just did, that's your thing. Like that we haven't ever seen before. And I immediately, it didn't take but a microsecond for me to look up and go, okay, took the 52 years to show me that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's what I was doing. And I really said that day, I'm going to do drone clubs. And that was it. So, I mean, that's how it started. There's a lot of why we're Drone Legends. There's a million reasons, but I'll pause there for a moment because I mean, the story continues, but that's how it started.
That's awesome. Yeah. There's something just so special about even connecting with even one kid, and just inspiring one child is just so powerful.
It's amazing. There's nothing like it.
There's
just nothing like it. And I'm privileged that I get to meet with teachers every single day. And I don't interact with students too much, but I was just at a school and I got to meet with a bunch of first graders all the way through 5th grade. And I probably saw 300 kids that day. And I got to tell you, it's the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Just awesome.
Yeah. That totally resonates with me.
Yeah. Good.
You talked about impact just then, and I'm just wondering, sort of beyond adoption metrics, how do you measure the impact of the work that you're doing in terms of student learning and engagement?
We purposely, when we started out, one of the things that we were told was that it sometimes takes too long to get programs implemented. And a lot of that happens oftentimes is linked to like technology platforms where you're collecting student data. And we decided we weren't going to do that so that we could get people up and running quickly. And our programs were originally designed as like an after school enrichment program and not to supplant in-school curriculum, because that's kind of a hard, you have to standardize testing and all that thing.
Yeah.
So we were like, we're going to stay in our lane, and we're going to be like STEM electives, after school enrichment, those kinds of programs. So we didn't tie like metrics to testing and tracking student engagement. A lot of it's anecdotal. A lot of it's letters that we receive, and emails that we get from teachers that are using our programs. Firsthand observation, watching. So I remember we had a big program running out in Fresno, and there was this little guy, Mario, and this was one of our instructors told us this was Mario. Again, he was kind of like my little 15-year-old self, 14-year-old self. And, but loved the drone program, showed up every day. We did one coding mission with them where we do this 3-dimensional coding thing where they kind of do an X, Y, and a Z axis, which is unique, right, to a flying object. It's not just an X and Y. They have to kind of figure out 3 coordinates and then connect them to make the drone move into a space and play. So, while he was doing this, I think he put 2 and 2 together and saw that, this is how my video games operate. Like if I'm playing Fortnite, my character jumps through the sky and all that. Well, long story, Mario wants to be a video game programmer because the drone got him interested.
Awesome.
Let's sit you down at a computer and teach you how to code. Because let's show you how to code in the context of flying a drone and being on this cool mission, right? There's a ton of those little stories like Mario. I had a little guy, started his own little drone business, right? He just flying high drones. When you fly high, you will not deny. He was taking his little drone around and inspecting gutters, and I think it was like $5. It was just,
wow,
like the cutest
that's a
little
cool
thing.
idea.
I had one guy go, "Don't you know he needs his part 107?" I'm like, he was like 11. Let's relax right here. So you get those guys that are like, he needs his part 107. I'm like, the kid is literally flying a toy drone over somebody's gutter.
That's a great business idea.
It's a cool idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. I was impressed.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Hey Scott, if I'm a classroom teacher or a STEM coordinator, I'm hearing about this for the first time. How would I get started? Sort of what's the onboarding experience like? And is there a learning curve for educators who maybe haven't flown a drone before, or maybe don't have any background in this technology?
I love this question because this was me. You don't need to know how to fly a drone. You don't need to know how to do any of this. In fact, the problem is that again, when I entered the market, I watched the dronies, I like to call them, trying to do drones in school and making, in my opinion, a lot of mistakes. And what was that? Of a lack of empathy of what a teacher is going to go through in a classroom. Oftentimes these educators are, it's a STEM teacher. It's like a science. They don't teach you to teach STEM. You teach science or math. And so she's like, oh, somebody says she does a great job with them. You're going to be our STEM director and find something cool. And she goes off to, ISTE, which is a big technology, education tech college, and sees drones and, pre-drone legends and says, I love it. And they're like, okay, well, we'll sell you a ton of the drones. You're going to need, and they sell them all this equipment and they load up on the equipment. And then they go, okay, and here's a little bit of curriculum. And it's just like this afterthought. And then it's a disaster. And we looked at it the other way. We went, let's focus on that educator and let's make her life easy. She's put her neck out there on the line. So to answer your question is we brought in teachers that didn't know anything about drones and said, if you had to do this, what sort of a scaffolded program would you need? And we created these turnkey systems that are just literally everything's in a kit. And our onboarding is super white glove. So we offer unlimited professional development training, and you literally follow playbooks. This is the teacher guide. This is like everything's linked. That your scripts are literally in here if you need them. Unlimited training, unlimited technical support. We live for, and it often sounds trite, but I just really want, our whole focus is relentless focus on teachers, because we don't run our programs. And so if I built this company on the idea that inside every child lives a legend. And so if I believe that, that's why we're drone legends and we're not something like drone bots or something. Well, I'm not on the front lines. The teachers are. And the only way that they're the legend makers, which is the name of my podcast. And the reason we call them legend makers is they're the ones making the legends in their classrooms. And we're just facilitating that. We're giving them the tools and the resources and the support. It's so simple to do that. And a lot of people botch that. But just treat people with empathy and respect. And I always talk to my team. And I think about whenever you're talking to somebody, onboarding somebody, creating a product, following up with a text, anything. Imagine you're on the receiving end of it. Do you feel like we care? Or are we just going through the motions and we just made a sale?
Right.
Or do we really care? And we really care. I mean, I really care. And I think my team really cares too, because others of them are teachers as well. And they've stood in those shoes, right?
Yeah, it's kind of unheard of to give unlimited free professional development and technical support. That's really inspiring.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, let's maybe shift to the future here.
Yeah.
What changes do you anticipate in the next, say, 5 to 10 years for Drone Legends? What are you preparing for? And just thinking about kind of emerging technologies like AI, predictive analytics, XR. How are those technologies influencing your roadmap?
We're careful not to get caught up in an AI bubble, because it is a bubble, I believe, and others do too. And it's really easy to just jump on the AI bandwagon. And look, automated drones are arguably AI. Gimbal is a little artificially intelligent drone. So when the kids interact with him in Little Legends, they are, in a sense, prompting. We do kind of talk about that. Where we're going is, my vision for this was always to create an edutainment brand company that makes learning really interesting and fun. And so that to me is animated series, using kind of anime or shorts to get kids even more engaged, building out kind of that brand ecosystem where you've got books, clubs, movies, shows, toys, edtech toys, maybe a gimbal with a touchscreen face that you interact with, who's AI toy, right? He's an AI embedded toy. I think that we started in the schools, and I'd like to ultimately move into not only the schools, but the home. And what my vision is that you can live the experience of the Drone Legends universe through Little Legends, or we've got a novel called Rise of the Legends, which is about a group of kids who are the future leaders of the world that happen to be in a drone club called the Drone Legends. Good dude Jake Zortman wrote this. It's awesome. To be able to experience it in an entertaining way, but then also have it connect to the real world in the sense that, whoa, I can be part of that club, or I'm a Little Legend, or I'm a Drone Legend, and I participate in that in school. I want to go get so just that whole kind of world where we blend the fantastic with the real, and make it an experience that kids feel like they're part of a community, and teachers too, and also parents. And so that's really what we're moving towards, is this edutainment model, that I think will, for me, that's what excites me, is seeing that come to life, and being able to walk one day into Walmart and go, look, there's Drone Legends. And look at the kids love it, and being able to see events, like maybe even cool big events. The drone racing league's cool too. I mean, kind of leaning into that like STEM sports world where we can do some drone racing and get kids. I want kids to have a good time learning, really enjoy the process of learning, be excited about it. And drones are a great way to do that. I don't see drones slowing down. I think that we just look at emerging technologies will only make the drone technology more interesting. And we just kind of focus in on that.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a really inspiring legacy to leave behind if you can achieve all of the things you just said. That's awesome.
And we'll see.
I always ask this question. What advice can you give other edtech founders? Like, so what do you wish you knew before you set out on your journey to launch Drone Legends?
That's a good one. This is my first foray into this, right? I wasn't part of this. I will tell you, I would say a few things. This is an interesting market. I've never lived in a normal market in ed tech. I started Drone Legends during the pandemic. So January of 2020, that little incident at the charter school was November 15th, 2019. So when I started really building out Drone Legends in January of that year, kind of saw what I wanted, the vision, immediately COVID hit. And so I was
Yeah.
doing it with, I was literally on Zoom with kids flying drones around their living room. Video, you can go back and it's hysterical. And that's how I built the program. But when schools started to open up and we built the products that are really successful today, it was flush with cash. I mean, flush. Could have been a better time to start a business. You would have thought COVID would have killed us. It did just the opposite for me and many,
Right.
many others. And I think that what happens is, last September 24, all those ESSER funds kind of were done. ESSER 3
Right.
was depleted. And so now here I am expecting normalization, right? Okay, fine. We'll be fine. We've got a good product. And then you have election cycles, and then you have, and I'm not a political guy, so I'm not here to be political, but you've got an administration that is not friendly towards extracurricular, 21st century learning grants, not in the new budget. It's not in the big, beautiful bill. And so I think my advice would be to be very careful about building a business that's dependent upon grants, government funding.
Yeah.
Because you're subject to the whims of the administration that's currently in, and you might have great administrations that'll throw tons of cash at it, and you may have other administrations that'll yank the rug right out from under you. And I think we're feeling a little bit of that latter, where you're looking at where's the funding going to come from for a lot of this stuff, and so you have to pivot and think about how do you. It's not a terrible. I'm not saying don't have any, but I'm saying don't let it be your sole source of revenue. There's other ways to do it, right? And that's thinking about moving into. There's a big homeschool market emerging, right? If you look at trends, homeschool's shooting up. The challenge with homeschool is it's super price sensitive, right? So you're not going to get these big purchase orders and industry and district wide things you're going to have to be selling, and it's consumer, right? So that's tricky in its own right. But there's that. There's other sources as we see funds moving more to the states. What are the states focusing on? Career tech, right? Alternative tracks to college. What is aviation a career pathway? Okay, there's different sources of funding for that. So I think that's what I would think about as you're entering into the ed tech spaces. Where's your revenue going to come from?
Right.
How do you diversify that out of strict federal grants and things like that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have really interesting product ideas, but it's the kind of the path to commercialization that's where we really should be focused so that we can be successful with these products.
For sure.
So that's great. It's great advice. Hey, Scott, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
If our listeners want to connect with you, where can they find you? What's the best way to contact you?
Pretty much all over, but hit me up on LinkedIn. That's where I'm super active on LinkedIn. You'll find me there. You can find me, throw me an email at scott@dronelegends.com. It's just scott@dronelegends.com. You can go to the website, dronelegends.com, and ping one of us there. But just look around. We're on every social platform, but LinkedIn really from if you just want to get connected from a business to business, you want to chat about some things. I'm always on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Your website, dronelegends.com is really nicely put together, and you can,
thank you.
Listeners can see more about the products, all the way from kindergarten to high school. So check it out.
Yeah.
And to our listeners today, we explored Scott Buell's journey from the corporate world to the classroom and how Drone Legends is pioneering new models of immersive STEM learning. If today's conversation sparked a new idea, please share the episode with a colleague, and join us next time on Chalk and Code.
Thanks for tuning in. If today's conversation sparked new insights or challenged your thinking, we'd love to hear from you.
Visit flexion.us for more information and join us here next time on Chalk and Code.